Hey, Scott Brewer here, Level 5 Tools. We get questions now and again about how do you set the crown on the flat box. And you know, everything happens in this brass blade holder area. So you'll notice that your box is going to come with a pre-crown in it, meaning that this blade holder is going to be concave. It's going to be flexed so it gives you the maximum finish when it's on this setting of 0. You'll notice this dial has 5 different settings. And I don't know if you can see, but down in that little crease there, you'll notice that there's an opening because it's on setting 0. When it's on setting 0, what that means is it's going to put the maximum amount of joint compound on the wall. So when you're running a fill coat, which you'll use your 10-inch box for typically, or 7, that means you're trying to fill over top of the recessed joint of tape. You're going to want to run this box maybe on 0 or 1 or maybe even 2. It just depends on how deep and how recessed that joint is. Some guys using what's called butt board. It can pull the joint really far back, so you may have to fill that a little bit more, recognizing you're going to get some shrink when that joint compound starts to dry. Now, let's say you're running it on 0 and you're saying, boy, it's just not putting enough joint compound out. So if that's the case, you know, a real simple way to do that is you want to recrown that blade. We just take it on the side of a wooden table and you just run it back and forth, you know, with a little bit of pressure, maybe 4 or 5 pounds of pressure, until you look at that and see that you've got a nice crown in there. So that's one way. And sometimes it'll happen. You'll lose your crown because say you were running this thing on a finish coat and you left it at 4 or 5 even, which really flattens out that blade. And then you toss that in the back of the truck and it sat there like that for, you know, 2 to 3 weeks on end. You could lose some of that crown when you go back to 0. So if you notice that when you're running it, you may just want to take that, and you go back to 0, you may want to take that, run it back across that edge to put a little bit of a crown back in there. Again, if you're running that fill coat, you're probably going to run it on 1. Okay, what's that's going to do? It's going to create some resistance with this spring against that brass blade holder. So when you're against the wall and you're pushing that joint compound out, the force of that joint compound actually makes that brass blade float up off the wall, and that's what leaves the mud on the wall. Of course, your shoes and your skids keep it tight. The feather or the curve of this blade creates that feather on both sides of that joint. So again, you might run it on 1 or 2 when you're running a fill coat. When you go to your 12-inch box, you might end up running that on a 3 or even a 4 when you're doing a finish coat, because again, you're just putting a thin coat of finish over top of what's already been your fill coat with a 10-inch box. So again, you'll see some guys talking online. It really is dependent on the box. If you're doing a fill coat, you're probably going to run it on 1. In a rare case, you might run it on 0. If you're not getting enough joint compound on the wall when you're on 0, you might have lost your crown in the blade, and you want to go ahead and give it a nice gentle run across a wood surface, something that's non-abrasive. Don't do this on concrete. I wouldn't even recommend doing it on steel. Go ahead and just do it on a piece of wood, a piece of 2x4, and that should get you the results that you're looking for. So if you like this video and you're seeing it on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can always check us out on Facebook, level5tools.com. Welcome to the Red Zone.